Right. Are you ready?
Okay.
Are you
Yes.
sure? Are you sure you're ready? Are you ready for
I,
the pantomime horse that is?
I,
Oh, is it week 19? Week 19.
well, that is one tired pantomime horse then.
Yeah, this pantomime horse. It's getting a bit sweaty in this pantomime horse after this last week. It's been a bit hot.
We have to get another outfit. Maybe who else? Dame what shall I, no, what's the
I
another
don't know. Do you
pantomime
remember those?
character?
Do you remember those party outfits you used to get, which had ostrich legs and a bit of an ostrich thing? And
There you go.
yeah, one of
Yeah,
them.
I'll get you one
It's
of those.
pantomime ostrich.
It's your big birthday coming up this summer. Maybe you can get one of those.
If I can get into one, I'll be delighted. Anyway, enough of that old nonsense. How was your week? How was your week while I was away sunning myself doing not a lot?
Well, you were sunning yourself in Scotland, which is, I mean, those two words have never been said together, have they?
That's right. Yeah, as I joked earlier, it's like it was a world first. I don't know how hot it was in. So we were in the Isle of Arran on the west coast, and I had no idea how hot it was, but I had to go swimming twice in the sea on Thursday to try
Wow.
and cool down. So
I
it
bet
was.
you were chopping off your waterproof trousers and your
I
hunter
took my
wellies.
I took my waterproof trousers and my waterproof jacket, and neither got used. They both stayed in the bag
Right.
all week. It was
I bet
absolutely
trying to find
tremendous.
your swimming togs is probably, oh no, we didn't
That's
think of
right.
this eventuality.
Didn't think about sun cream. I had loads of midge repellent, but no bloody sun cream. So yeah, no, it was hilarious. It was absolutely fantastic, really good, and a lot of downtime, a lot of thinking, a lot of reading, a lot of chilling. You'll be glad to hear I drank quite a lot of beer in order I mean, hydration. I just took a lot of hydration breaks, like the football, Kieran, like football.
Very wise.
Every 20 minutes, I needed a hydration break.
Well, very wise. Whilst you enjoyed yourself on holiday, why not?
Yeah, indeed, indeed. So yeah, no, it was really good. It was a lot of fun, and yeah, now back to it with a vengeance. So
Good
anyway, what's
stuff.
been going on in my absence?
Well, in your absence, we have been busy growing and doing amazing things. There's been highs and lows, as is true of most weeks.
Mhm.
So I'll share with you some of those. So,
Excellent.
well, the biggest high, I think, is our largest customer, who use huge amounts of knowledge flow. It seems to add loads of value to what they do, which is great to see. And they've just confirmed their renewal for year 2 with an increase in the number of things that they want to do, and therefore the amount that they will be paying. So
Excellent.
that's really good news. Still incredibly affordable and way less than
You
any
don't have to
other
sell it. You don't have to sell it
AI.
to me or our audience.
Exactly. Well, just in case our audience is one of our clients ever, then yeah, just to reiterate, we
No, I
are
saw
still.
that. I saw that. I thought it was really pleasing to see, and it made me think that I should go on holiday more often and actually do nothing while you're tripling the usage of the of knowledge flow for our biggest customers. That's brilliant.
Well, you should do that. Although, as I said, every silver lining has a cloud, or indeed, I
Yes,
think the other
indeed.
way around. So we had a sort of really challenging conversation with one of our clients who had BidWriter and singularly BidWriter. So there's some lessons to be learned from that, which is a real pain. So we jumped really quickly because they said we've got these two bids, both due in 2 weeks' time. Can you move? And we were like, yeah, all right, no worries. I know all of the folk from various parts of my work in the past. And so we built BidWriter. They then took a week to send us their proposals and documents and things. So we finally got those in. They eventually, I think, got it in their hands like with 2 days to go before the bid deadline. Very limited training. And funnily enough, as we would fully expect on the first go of these things, it wasn't writing quite in their tone. It wasn't finding enough variance in the answers that it was in the case studies it was citing. All of those are things we would fix normally over the first 2 weeks. And guess what? We didn't have that opportunity. So they kind of left feeling like, oh, they're a bit deflated. They were
Mm,
saying it's kind of doing half the job, not, we want it to do the whole job, of course, which everyone does want it to do. And it can do a fair bit of the whole job, 80%, as we always say. Anyway, so that's been kind of a challenge because they obviously don't see it from their side of the house. It's like, well, we were thinking this thing was going to just smash it out of the park immediately.
Yeah, but
And
it's one of my holiday reflections was about adoption, how we get people to use the tool more, and I keep coming back to it's a magic bullet. I know it's not a magic bullet. There are no silver bullets, only lead ones, and you've got to fire lots of them, and you've got to put the effort in. I saw on the wires a couple of things about this, and really frustrating just to observe from an outside perspective of, we jump over lots of hoops in order to try and get them up and running, and then for them not to respond for a week to get the bloody documents, their documents in, or
yeah,
even
no,
get them
exactly.
together. It's just absolutely super frustrating and actually really odd. And I wondered about, you don't have to answer this question because I don't think it's appropriate, but I did wonder about the kind of hierarchy of engagement in that particular organization and others that we've worked with. You get to the guy at the top comes to us and says, "Oh, can you help us out?" Yeah, no problem. And then by the time it gets to the person who's writing the thing, they can't be bothered to get the documents together, or they're too busy writing the bid to get the documents together. Potentially, to be fair to them, and there's whatever steps down. We had another call. We had a sales call early today where we were chatting to a bunch of people, where the guy at the top, super smart, super bright, sees a whole kind of sector opportunity, and he said, "Right, I've got to leave early now," and then he left, and and then the people who were left going, "Oh yeah, it's all a bit rubbish, isn't it?" It was really weird, just a really weird conversation. I just wondered whether it was a bit like that with the BidWriter guys, whether the guys at the top had high expectations and the guys at the bottom, I
Well, I
don't know
think,
if
and
they
I
know how.
well, I think the thing is making it clear, because I think they was like, "Can you do it at the time?" Like, yes, we can. Then I don't think we could have been clearer about the project steps that are needed afterwards. I mean, I said to them, "We need your documents,"
Yeah.
and then, but I obviously didn't make that clear enough about how important it is to get those like now, because we know there will be problems. Most people's proposals and case studies will have problems when AI tries to run embeddings across them,
Hmm.
and finding those and then fixing those, which we can do once we know where they are. But there'll be quirks, there'll be tables in tables, there'll be images, there'll be,
Yeah.
I know, all kinds of bits and bobs that trips AI up in that embeddings process that we can then get on and solve, but won't be solved until we do. And then, of course, is that tone and trying to get it to write in their way and all that. I mean, that only comes from talking to them about what is your tone. Show me. Yes, we can look in your documents and get some of it, and we can write, we can get it to emulate that in some way. But it's better when you have a measured conversation about it and talk
Hmm.
about which one of those is a really good tone, because not all of them will be. And by the
Yeah.
way, if we try and do it from the documents, there'll be things in that terms and conditions and tables and stuff that it will pull out as tone, and you
Yeah.
don't want that. So anyway, so yes, I'm hoping that we can turn them around. We've got we've agreed some actions with them to improve things, so I hope so. But yes, I think the clarity that it isn't a magic wand, it doesn't know everything about you and every piece of work you've done if you haven't told it about it. So let's
Yeah.
let's teach it.
And also the kind of, where it's pulling information back, the kind of whole, one shot doesn't solve it. The one shot
Indeed.
prompting. Here's my 3,000 word prompt, and of course it's not going to work the first time. Actually, one of the things I did want to say was, congratulations to Donald and to you and the rest of the team for the piece of work which that I saw this morning, when I got back. My very first meeting. I was delighted to hear about the whole, what I don't know how to describe it, the step by step, which kind of really underplays what it actually does and how it
I
works. So tell
it's
our audience about that because it's great.
Yeah, it's very cool, and that actually does solve this problem, of having a massive prompt and hoping it will somehow be able to read all of that prompt and apply it to all
Can
of the
you
documents.
just explain why the big prompt doesn't work? Because I don't think people understand that. Because I think as Nate would sort of talk about it, prompting was so 2025, and actually people just have ended up just adding more and more to their prompt, their system prompts, and actually they think if they write a massive prompt, it's going to fix the problem. Actually, it makes it worse, not better.
Well, and I think partly it's if you use some of these reasoning or skill-enabled models. So if you have a paid for like expensive Claude license, then you can get away with more because it will operate differently to how any of the kind of internal tools will. and that's what step by step what Donald has built is now aiming to emulate in our secure way. But so there's two main reasons why big prompts won't work. One is the amount of text in there that's not that relevant, and it basically confuses the system. Alongside the context window for what you're working with might be limited, and therefore, like all people, it reads the beginning and end. Interestingly, in 5.4, which is our platform 5.4 mini for a lot of our work, is it favors the end will always trump something buried in the middle, the last thing you say. And so you have to think carefully about prompting and how you finish up your thing with the stuff that you actually need it to definitely do. So there's a whole bunch of kind of just a bit, I don't know what you'd call it, the artistry of kind of designing the prompt in a way that it is going to follow it. But it will, a long prompt, they always drifts a bit in the middle. So that's part of it. The other part is when you're using it with RAG, so with retrieval augmented generation, if you run a single prompt, it will do a single search and retrieval step of the data of all of your case studies and things in this case. The problem with that, of course, is that if you're answering 30 questions in an RFP, probably 20, if top case set at 20, which is fairly standard for our products, you're going to get 20 case studies that somehow speak to all of those 30 questions, which might be all over the place and nuanced and whatever. So you need it to go in multi-shot, and then it will do a retrieval every time, and it can find 20 relevant case studies for just that specific thing that you want to know about for this particular question. So, but step by step, which is now, as you say, it's not the best name. That we should probably use AI to find a better name. But it will now take a massive prompt and break it in the background into individual steps, each one sort of self-contained, so that it can go and find data if it needs to. It can run analytics if it needs to, or it can summarize other things if it needs to. And I am looking on the other screen at its output for the new Ofsted tools that we've created, and it is very, very tremendous. And in fact, let me tell you how many words it's output, because this is quite interesting in its own way. I'm just going to open this quickly while our audience gets themselves another cup of tea. 9,147 words. So that is like your whole RFP response done in effectively one shot, but actually running over multiple prompts. But in each case, if you wanted to do that for your organization, there's some work to do with us on how do you want those things structured then? Because once you bake that in, that's how it's going to follow. It will answer each question. But if you always like to do this or that, or always write like this, then that's the part we need to bake into it to give it that context.
Yeah. I was just going to say the context thing. We'll come back to the context thing because it's so important. Context was king was the message from the Gartner conference. And actually, that whole piece about the context layer being the bit that actually differentiates. Again, we had another conversation with somebody about Copilot. It's like, they admitted they'd had trouble getting stuff out of Copilot. And contextually, that's really important. Putting back the wrong stuff or stuff that was inappropriate or immaterial to the question at hand. So, back to the context stuff and it being able to pull the information that's relevant and important. Because before I went to it, I had some a bit of feedback from one of the BidWriter users saying that it's kind of repeating itself. It's not doing a great job. But so we fixed that problem in a different way because it was just looking at the wrong stuff. But actually, unless you know what it's doing and how you fix that stuff in the background, then you're going to end up with mediocre answers. And that links to one of the things that I came away from my holiday with. And my holiday reading was quite extensive, but I was trying to do a lot of it on my phone while I was sat in the sunshine. And I read a couple lots of my sources were from the FT or from the Economist, and I don't mind admitting those are my main sources. But there's a real kind of negative vibe last week about AI. In previous weeks, it's always been AI is brilliant. AI is going to transform the world. AI is but last week, AI's kind of lost its shine, and there were articles like the AI backlash is coming, and I'm like, what? So really kind of negative. But some of it was along the lines of the things we've been talking about around contextually, the AI isn't delivering for people. AI isn't being embedded in people's workflows, so they're not really doing it. Loads of people have spent massive amounts of money on licenses that no one's actually using.
Yeah.
Lots of news in the last wee while, that some of the stuff we picked up on about companies limiting the token burn from people because they're spending millions of dollars on tokens, and actually they've got lazy. Then Nate B. Jones predicted this. He said, people will start to want to be more economical, and they won't just throw everything in. Right now, they throw everything in because it's lazy. They're not thinking about actually how much it's costing. And this fact amused me. It was all part of the data center backlash, and one town claiming that if you lived near a data center, it was 9 degrees hotter than actually if you lived further out.
Really?
Yeah, it was exactly. And Jeff Bezos was in the news because he'd made some comment about water for data centers rather than for humans to drink. But there was a fact, and I think it was the Economist that said, yeah, but no one's actually spotted the fact that all of the data centers in the US use much less water than all of the golf courses. No one's picked that up, and I wonder why.
Indeed.
I wonder why that is. Anyway, I know your views on playing golf.
Yeah, indeed, you're right. Interesting though what you're saying about like the context and people not wanting to do it or not realizing they have to. And I think there's sort of two thoughts that spring to mind. There's a phrase I think I wrote this while I was on a webinar as my sort of notes on it is, go work it out yourself is not an AI strategy. And that is, so many people are deploying Copilot. And how many times have I had the conversation saying, well, we've got Copilot everywhere, so we don't need knowledge flow. I'm like, no, you're completely missing the point. Putting Copilot everywhere, even with training, is still then reliant on people to work out how to use it to help their job. Now, that's fine for really basic use. Summarize these documents, help me rewrite this thing. All those kind of uses, which is pretty much most AI use in work. That's fine, but it's not where any of the big transformation is. That is the stuff of like the steam engine analogy of last week that we talked about, of that's just changing your big steam engine for a big electric engine and expecting everything to change. And I think that whole thing of like, you're just relying on people just to go away and work out how to make Copilot be useful to them. And as I've talked about before in the podcast, is my years of consulting shows me that most people do not want to think about their job other than, they don't want to work on their job. They want to just do their job. Most people. I find it very interesting because for me, that sounds like the worst nightmare of a job I could ever imagine, where you just come in and turn this handle and don't ask why, just keep doing it. But most people seem really happy. Tell me how to do my job. I want to do my job, and hopefully I feel some fulfillment from or achieve something useful. But it is few that people that want to stop and go, how do I make this job better? How do I bring entrepreneurial mindset to my job so that I can improve it? And those are the people that will be getting lots out of AI if they're so minded. But just saying to your whole organization, there's Copilot, you'll get, I mean, it's probably worth doing if you use a free one, because it's like you're going to get probably 5% efficiencies, which frankly is not a small amount across a big organization, but it's never going to transform you. Or few, unless you have another set of stuff going on where you've got people that are super users that are then sharing it and then embedding it. So and the other part I think is the expectation thing. Is our future. I think the future of jobs. In fact, I was saying this. I was invited quite last minute to join FE News's live event on Thursday morning. So I was out doing this half-hour live news panel. I was a panel member, and I was sharing the kind of, in my view, the future of work. And it's really what Gartner's saying. So it's not really my view. It's just I think I agree with it very strongly. Is it'll be a human managing one or more agents. And the agents will do the work. That might, whether that's answering emails, processing documents, working out when your gas safety fixes are needed to be done, and all those kind of whatever. The agent can do all of that, but it needs governing. And that governance isn't just like looking at the output saying yes and no. That's a tiny bit of it. It's working out what data it needs. It's working out what instructions it needs that improves it. And working out that the regulations changed recently. I need to add that in. All of those things are what is the future for now of work. Who knows how long that future is? Interestingly, the other thing I shared on there was, I think, learning prompting. I mean, even that's gone away. because agents don't really need prompting in anything like the way you did before. If you've got use any of the proper agentic stuff, they need access to the documents with the rules and various things, and you've got to decide and curate cleverly and closely what you give them access to. And then there is sort of some prompting, but not a day-to-day prompting thing. It's a kind of uber master prompt that drives the thing to do the behavior.
Yeah.
And that's so. Who knows whether prompting is even a thing that's going to continue? But
yeah, indeed, that is interesting. And I think the whole one of the positive things that I did read was about actually how do you use AI to transform public services, and
nice.
how do you help citizens, and all the things that we've been kind of thinking about, talking about, and actually working on with groups. That there was a really positive piece about that making a real difference to citizens, and people not being scared of AI, but actually also wanting to engage it in a much more positive way. So yeah, it wasn't all doom and gloom on the wires, but there was a bit of
there's lots to be said, isn't there? But then you get the backlash of like Palantir in NHS, which is problematic, isn't it? People don't want their data shared, and you get into sort of all kinds of kind of difficult challenges of I want amazing healthcare and I want it all efficient and I want it all to work, but no, I don't want a computer to do any of it. So this will amuse you. So there was a webinar that I wanted to go to this week from Look Up, which is Matthew Hook and his partner Caroline, and it's storytelling for businesses and transformation, and in this case on AI, and how do you tell the story in a way that actually interests and compels people, which is, as we know, kind of fundamental to everything really. If you can't communicate what it can do, how it can help, then frankly you're onto a bit of a loser. Anyway, this is the amusing part. So I thought I'll join that. I was on another call at the time and they were starting, so I went and joined it, and it was a Zoom one. And so that was joined and I had it muted, but and then I heard them, but I hadn't turned off the sound. And I heard them go, "Oh, good, there is someone here." It's Kieron's here. So I was like, oh no, because two things happened. One, I had to get out of this other meeting much more quickly. But two, I was going to run it. You know, when you listen to webinars, they're running in the background while you're working, and you kind of just kind of work out whether it's something you actually care enough about to really pay attention to. So they said, well, we'd be great to get a good question from you at the end. So I was like, now I've got to listen. I even made notes. I mean, it was a good webinar. It was a good webinar, and I enjoyed listening to Matthew and his guest, Hamish. It was. I was suddenly like moved from just a passive. I'll get on with other stuff while I listen to this too. Now I'm in it. So that was fun.
That'll learn you to switch your bloody mic off.
Indeed, I should. Well, it was even there just because my name popped up because of the Zoom version. They just ran it as a Zoom meeting, I think. So it was like, oh, here I am now, front and center. Anyway, it was nice to meet Hamish because I've heard lots about him through the years, and many people have said I should meet him, and I hadn't. So now I have. So nice. It was good, and some useful bits in there on AI strategy, I guess, really, and sort of lots of the sort of usual story, but really about you need to understand enough about its kind of potential and know how to use it properly if you really want to transform anything. So that's what Hamish is trying to do in the world, which is great. Good on him.
Very good. Yeah, good luck to him with that. There was one other thing, I didn't not link to anything that we've talked about, but it popped into my head as you were just talking about how do you pitch the stories of AI. And there was an interesting article I read last week about the different biases or the different values that AI can bring. And one of the questions it was asked was, I've got a problem with my in-laws, how should I handle it? And depending on the different model that you used, it gave very, very different answers from the, well, you need to confront them and actually have it all out to the, it's best not to get involved.
Yeah.
Just it's really, and there's a graphic where it's got each of the sort of the big frontier models. It's like how should you say, passive or aggressive along this line. It was really quite funny. I was thinking, yeah, I'm not sure I'll be putting anything about my in-laws on the interweb. I don't need that kind of stuff coming back to haunt me. In knowledgeful, where it's private, dead easy.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, you can go mad. Just don't let them on your version of it in case they look in your history.
Absolutely. Yeah, they don't need to be looking at my prompt history.
So
Yeah, very funny.
I wanted to quickly talk about our blog this week, which was about predictive analytics, really, and but featured around the World Cup, the
I
Football
saw
World
that.
Cup
I
that's going
read
on.
it. Very
Yeah, it's
amusing.
quite good, isn't it? And interestingly, the sort of nub of it was that if you use AI to predict anything in the World Cup, or indeed use anything to predict the World Cup, it will look back in patterns of history and try and make future predictions based on that. And interestingly pointed out this time was, well, this time's the biggest World Cup there's ever been, with many more teams and therefore many more mismatches, as in very poor teams playing very, very good teams, and therefore much bigger goal differences than have been experienced. Now put that into your predictive models. Oh, you can't, because you're relying on everything up to today. So really interesting, the kind of watch out of, if you're going to try and do predictive analytics, which everybody wants to do, then you've got to be really clear about the biases. It is bias really in your data, or the inaccuracies, I guess.
Yeah.
So, and in education, where I often talk about predictive analytics, I think this is so true. It's so difficult because in education, you're right into the kind of social science of it, really. Why is that pupil, learner, student not engaging? And there is probably as many reasons as there are pupils, learners, and students not engaging. And you can look in the history, and you can look at attendance patterns and hand-in patterns, and even back to kind of primary school experience and transition, and there's all kinds of data you could bring to bear. But what I always say to educators in this space is, if you're in a school, 1,000-student secondary school, you already know the 10 students it's going to point at, don't you? And the reality is, deprivation is already there as your predictor. It is nearly always deprivation that is, on in any kind of recognizable pattern, causes the problem. So it's the question is, what do you do about it? And unless you've got some levers you can pull, then frankly, having more data on the subject at the moment, it won't be that useful.
No.
But as we've talked about, there is the unstructured data, which is new, and that is worth looking at, which is the words on pages, reports, things that you have captured about the interactions you have with pupils and students. Because if you start to build that with structured data, you now have unlocking new potential, new insights that were never previously available because you just couldn't analyze at that scale. So I think that's really interesting. But in that regards, most of the educators we talk to don't capture that kind of content in any managed way. So you don't get the kind of, actually, he was a bit low today. I had a chat with him after class, and actually it turns out he'd had a bit of a bad weekend, that whatever, that isn't captured in most schools, not with any student identifier on it anyway. And therefore we can't use it. So there you are.
Just coming back to the blog piece, I was most humoured that Julia, the person I would have thought was the least interested in football in the world, was writing a blog about the World Cup. But it was the line about, I'm 3 pints in. Like, 3 pints of Negroni was that, Julia.
That explains how the blog went off. So
it did, yeah. But I could just imagine her. I wondered who was shouting at the TV most, her or Kevin. So it would be hilarious to be a bit of a goggle box experience watching them watch football. I would have thought. I hope she's won it. She's only doing it. She's only going to win a tenner or something stupid, but she's putting a lot of bloody effort in for 10 quid, isn't she?
I in a sort of not to do with that story, but this is amazing. Midjourney, so they're an image producing AI tool in the main, but they have just announced, what are they calling it? Midjourney medical scanner, or Midjourney Spa. So they have got, so according to the reports I've read, have produced a whole new way of doing whole body scanning. So the MRI scan kind of thing that takes an hour or so, doesn't it, to have a kind of proper body one. They do it through water and ultrasound, and then using AI to predict, to look at the image, and it sends millions of sound waves through the water, and then obviously measuring the bounce back or whatever of those. They reckon 60 seconds to get an entire body scan. and they're going to have their
Wow.
first one in San Francisco in 2027 apparently. So they're already
Wow.
they're that far down that they're announcing where and when. So if that's true, I mean that's incredible, because MRIs, I mean they're so expensive, they're
Mm.
so noisy, they're so slow that you probably, I mean, the best day in a hospital, you probably get 12 people through one, and now you could be doing 12 in 20 minutes.
That
Amazing.
is incredible. Yeah, no, the whole health thing is incredible. Isn't it? Even we've talked to plenty of people from health, and some of them are, how should we say, less enthusiastic about moving things forward than others. But it sounds like that is just a brilliant use of technology in order to help improve people's lives and identify problems. Brilliant.
Yeah, isn't it just? There you go.
Crikey, is that the high night that we should finish on?
I
Seeing
think
as
so.
I've been really miserable with all my kind of AI's rubbish according to the Economist and the FT. I'm going to stop reading them, Kieran, until
Yeah.
they put a bit more joy back into the AI business. I'm
Well,
gonna stop reading them.
well, do you know, I went on a little trip in May up the river on my little riverboat, and I had 6 days, and I basically didn't pay attention to any news, and it
Mhm.
was lovely. Because you don't have all that just misery in your life that you just don't need to know about most of it. And particularly all that, I mean, the UK political scenario for almost as long as I can remember now is just about the infighting of the various parties.
Yeah,
And you just don't need to pay attention, because it's going to be the same stuff in a year's time, and so, or a week's time, a month's time, whenever you choose to look again, it will be exactly the same.
yeah.
So there you go. And I'm actually very interested in politics, but I'm just so fed up of that kind of news cycle of just nonsense. Anyway, there you go. So turn off the news for a bit.
All right. Well, on your little boat trip, after you got back from your boat trip and you asked your little boy what the best bit was, what did he say?
The fact that he got to play on his iPad every day. He's only allowed on weekends, and then we were on holiday, so he played Minecraft and watched children's YouTube. That's brilliant, brilliant. All these wholesome stories and life events. I was hoping he would be telling everyone about. Nope, it was
No.
about YouTube and Minecraft. So
Right, well,
there
there you
you
go.
go.
That's the new generations coming through for us, Kieran. That's the new generation. You don't have to worry about. Right, I'm going to go and switch my news feeds off, and I'm going
Good,
to go and crack open a beer. So you have a great evening, and I will catch you very soon.
nice one. Take care. Nice to talk to you. See ya.
All right, fella. See you
All
soon.
right. Cheers, everyone. Bye bye. Bye.